All right, hello everybody. Thanks so much for tuning in. I appreciate everybody saying hi on the chat board. I see a lot of people from Alberta. I see a lot of people from the GTA, which is not surprising, of course, but that's great. I see a lot of people from Montreal. So I appreciate you guys tuning in, chatting on the chat real quick, saying a quick hello. If and letting us know where you're from, it helps give context to Chris so that, if he talks about things, he can always mention the people who are in those areas. So let's get started and kick it over to the next slides here. And not quite the title of what today is, but that's okay. Today's webinar is the winners keep score.
Winners keep score.
Winners keep score. Winners keep score. And I want to talk a little bit, of course, before I switch it over to Chris, but what we're doing with these sales success webinars. And the objective is about enhancing your sales development by getting industry experts in and delivering great presentations on topics that are timely. And this is a presentation that Chris and Tina and their team at Leaders Edge have put together, really for us. So it's, they've told me it's a really fantastic presentation, and I have no doubt. I hope you guys all have a little notepad ready. I will say, I find when Chris does a webinar, he's going to give a lot of information. So make sure that you're ready to take some notes. Of course, you can tune into this every month. We do these roughly the third week of every month, sales success, and the first week of every month we do our Building Your Tech Toolkit. I'll talk a little bit more about some of those topics coming up later. You can always find these in the RLP network under training and webinar training, or royallepage.ca/training. This all ties back to Royal LePage's promise to you, which is about helping you maximize your earning potential through powerful business tools, leads and referrals, and training for all stages of your career. If you haven't tuned into some of the sales success meetings or webinars that we've done this year, I mean, you've missed out on some great topics. One of the title here, Get Your House in Order, was one of the webinars Chris delivered in early January on just like getting the year started and getting going. And we've had some really great webinars lately on motivation and keeping your productivity high as we move into the fall season. Now, I encourage you, of course, to chat. You can ask questions. Chris will keep some time afterwards. I always ask, if you like the webinar, feel free to subscribe to our channel. That way you'll get notifications when we put these public. And never mind getting a little thumbs up, but you can hold on to that. You can give us a thumbs up a little bit later on. So with that said, I want to turn things over to Chris. Chris, of course, if you haven't heard him speak, and I notice I see a lot of very familiar names in the chat going on here, but Chris is somebody who started in real estate at a very young age. By the time he was 24, he was already a very incredibly successful realtor and started his own brokerage. From then, he started recruiting, and he became an expert recruiter. And all of that experience led him to realize a real desire to train people and help them get more out of their time. And that has led him to essentially be a trainer and coach for realtors all across North America. Typically, when I talk to Chris or have him on one of the webinars, they're going off an hour later, they're heading off to Colorado or LA. So he's got wonderful experience throughout North America. And I'm saying that because it's a great opportunity for all those people who are on this webinar to ask some questions at the end and get really North American insight, especially in this market now with so much going on. So with that said, Chris, I want to turn things over to you.
All right. Thank you, Mike.
It's a pleasure.
I'm excited about today's conversation. This has been a project we've been working on now for probably a year. And you guys are the first ones to have a look at some of the research we've been doing and the direction we're moving behind the scenes with our organization. I have, as Mike said, spent almost, 20 years, getting close to 20 years training and coaching people across North America, and literally have taught hundreds and hundreds of classes, thousands of salespeople. And I tell you that because what we've been doing is we've been analyzing data for the last year, looking at the common denominators of very successful real estate salespeople. And I've been trying to figure out what makes somebody successful in real estate. And so that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about a lot of the research we've uncovered and a lot of the stuff we're working on right now. What we've come to realize is that accountability is an incredibly important part of a person's success in this business. And one of the things I find with people when they get into real estate, they think now that I've got a real estate license, I'm going to be successful. But your license doesn't guarantee your success. It only puts you in the game. What I'm about to tell you, and this is a Canadian, the next slide is definitely Canadian because it just doesn't work in the US. But what I'm about to tell you is that it's like Buckley's cough syrup. And I use this because it's a Canadian product and the Americans have no idea what I'm talking about. But the message I'm going to tell you is probably going to make you cringe, but I'll be honest with you, it's good for your business. And when you take a look at all of the information we've gathered up and all of the things we've come to realize about building a very successful sales practice, it gets right back to the core, the fundamentals, the principles of the business, staying disciplined. And one of the things I came to realize as I've been looking at our top producers, and when I talk about top producers, I've been fortunate and been blessed. I've probably taught a significant part of, or a significant percentage of the best Royal LePage agents in the country. So if you look at the top people, the top 25 people in the country, I'll pretty much guarantee that the majority of them are past graduates of our 7-week training program, the Leaders Edge program. And we've been taking that data and we've been trying to figure out what makes that program successful. Anybody who's done the program knows the average agent does over a transaction every week while they're working with us through those 7 weeks. And what we've come to realize is one of the key components, the key cornerstone to making somebody successful is you've got to keep score. Winners keep score. When you turn on the scoreboard, you turn on the player. And since the beginning of time, scoreboards have motivated the players to do just a much better job. Studies tell us athletes perform better when somebody is measuring the metrics of what they're doing. The score clock tells us where you are in comparison to your competitors. And we don't operate in the real estate industry on our own. We are competing every day with salespeople in your marketplace. Some of them are discount brokers. Some of them bring a tremendous amount of service. Some of them are very experienced and some of them are new. But you should be keeping score so that you know how you stack up against the industry averages. And I'll tell you why that's important. And I'll get into it in a little more detail going on. But you want to be looking at what the top earners are doing and how do you compete, how do you compare with them? It tells us, for instance, the score clock, and I'm using an old hockey score clock here, and I think that's from Maple Leaf Gardens. But that hockey score clock tells you how you're doing against your competitors, but it also tells you how much time you have left on the clock. And that tells the players that are on the bench and on the ice, it tells them what adjustments they need to make in their game so that they meet their objectives when the clock runs down. So what I'm saying to you is you need to take an accounting of where you are right now at this point in the year. And you got to look at what was your goal for December 31st when the 12 months is up for 2017. And where are you right now in reference to what your objective was for the end of the year? What's your score clock telling you? And what's interesting about this, and I mentioned to you earlier, we've been looking at salespeople all across North America and all the different marketplaces, and we've been analyzing their success. And what we have found is people who do not take an accounting of where they are never end up performing at the level of what it takes to be successful. Salespeople perform better when they pursue their opportunities. They'll pursue their opportunities more aggressively, and they execute with greater focus if they know where they're at and what adjustments they need to make. So, compete to win. Success requires competition. I've been looking at what makes the best. And what they need is they need people to compete with. Think about when the last time Degrassi ran against Usain Bolt. And it was that last race. And I know he didn't run this time. But that last race when they got close to the finish line, Bolt looked over at Degrassi and waved his finger at him, and Degrassi was smiling. And that picture will go down in history as two real competitors getting within inches of the finish line. And Bolt was basically saying, I can't believe you pushed me as hard as you did. Now, the outcome of that exercise was Bolt had to push harder, and Usain had to close harder because they were both in spitting distance of being number one. So when we compete against others, we do a better job. The next thing we need to do is we need to track what your goal was for the year. And once you figure out what your goal is, not only are you competing in the marketplace against the competition every day, but now you have to compete against the metrics that you've put in place. What did you say you were going to do by the end of the year? And where are you at? That's the strength of the clock. That's the strength of keeping score. When you know where you're at, you know where you wanted to be, and you know who you have to compete with to get there. These factors will be the jet fuel that fires the engine that gets you to perform at the highest possible levels. Now, there's a whole bunch of other stuff that we've come to realize by collecting data on salespeople. For instance, one of the things we've done this past year is we've been working diligently on creating an app for agents on how to collect their data. And when I look at people, for instance, that are serious about getting in shape, you don't have to look very far today to find fitness apps that will help you log your cardio, help you log your weight routine. And all of that is designed so that you are constantly aware of where you're at, where you're going, and what needs to be done. It is the miles you put on the track. It is the weights that you put on the barbell. It is the number of reps you do and the number of sets you do. People who are serious about getting in shape, and I challenge you to take a walk around any big gym, wherever you are right now, and watch the people who are serious. What they're doing is, if they're not using an app on their telephone, what they're doing is they're recording their numbers in a notebook. But what they're doing is keeping score. Where was I yesterday? Where am I at today? And where do I want to be tomorrow? The other thing that happens is, if you look at anybody who's trying to lose weight, again, you don't have to look far to find a weight loss app. And what does a weight loss app do? It asks you to weigh where you are today. It asks you, what is your goal? And then it says to you, these are the things that you need to do to get to that goal. And what it does is it tracks your calorie intake. And if you eat more than you're supposed to, in terms of your weight reduction program, you can be pretty much assured you're not going to hit your goal. So all of this is about tracking. So I've been watching this going on, and I think that we've missed a big part of the opportunities that exist in the marketplace because we're not tracking what we're doing. So in terms of tracking, the first thing I want you to know is why. If your goal isn't powerful enough, meaning the December 31st goal for this year wasn't powerful enough, you won't do what it takes every day to make sure you meet that goal. But when something is really important to you, you'll figure out the activities. And it's not that the activities don't exist. And it's not like you have to go away and create, like, some sort of strategy as a rocket scientist. I mean, you don't have to look any further than Leader's Edge. We know what it is you're supposed to do. If you want to know what it is, I can tell you what to do. You just need to tell me what you want. You tell me what you want, I'll tell you what you need to do. And let me put it to you this way: when it comes to your goal, if your goal, if it doesn't get you up in the morning, meaning that you're so excited your feet are moving before you get out of bed, then you haven't got a powerful enough goal. And if your goal doesn't keep you up at night, meaning you can't seem to get to sleep because your mind's going around and around and around, and all you can think about is what you want to achieve, what your objective is. If your goal, if it doesn't feel like that, your goal's not powerful enough. Let me give you another analogy. Whatever you choose that you want to achieve, if it doesn't scare you, it's not strong enough. Your goal has to scare you. It has to take your breath away. And if it does, what I'm going to tell you, if it's so important to you that you achieve this, then you're going to figure out, you're going to go in search of, you're going to look for all of the activities that are going to achieve that objective. When the why is important, the answer will materialize on how you're going to do it. Now, why this is part of tracking what you're doing and why it's important and why it works in the Leaders Program is because every week you got to put your numbers in, and every week you got to own it. You got to own it. You said you were going to do stuff and you didn't do it. And when you don't, you're uncomfortable. Guilt drives us. When we feel guilty and we're not living up to our goals, you have this internal feeling that something's got to change. Now, let's pretend you want to lose weight and you don't like the way you look. Avoiding the mirror isn't the answer. What you need to do is look in the mirror every morning And that gives you the energy when it comes time to pick up the Twinkie or the ding dong, and you look at it and you think, no, because I got to look in the mirror tomorrow morning, and something's got to change here. So what I'm telling you is, if you're not keeping score and you're not tracking daily, then what's happening is you're not aware. You're not absolutely acutely aware of the things you didn't do today that you promised yourself that you were going to do. And if you keep score every day, you'll force yourself into the tough activities that are going to generate the opportunities. The other thing you need to do is, once you figure out what your goal is, you got to tell the world. Because when you tell the world, the rest of the world is watching to see if you have the discipline and you have the focus to do what you said you were going to do. Talk's cheap, you've all heard the cliches. You got to, and so you got to live up to it. So keeping your goal a secret isn't the answer. Telling the world that I'm going to do this and this is what I'm going to, and the world's watching, that extra pressure, that peer pressure, that pressure that you put on yourself from the community is going to have the impact to make you get up and get done doing what needs to be done. So goals are important. Now, I know how to predict somebody's success in real estate. I know what it takes for someone to be successful. And I know that sounds arrogant on my part. And I don't want it to come across that way. If you've never met me, I'm truly a very humble person. What I do want you to know, though, is I've spent 37 years in real estate. And after you donate 37 years of your life, 20 of which has been nothing but the pursuit of trying to build a better real estate salesperson and trying to figure out every way psychologically to motivate you guys to reach way beyond where you are, to achieve to your full potential. And I can tell you there has been some fundamental mistakes in management. And the management continues to make mistakes based on the criteria of what they believe is going to create a successful real estate agent. Let me tell you the stuff that I have seen in 37 years that management uses as a factor to try to determine someone's success. For instance, conventional wisdom in this business by the people who have walked this path for years, predicting an agent's success, is all wrong. They think the insiders would have you believe, first of all, that person who's so attractive, they're beautiful or handsome, they're going to be a success. That guy is so good looking, people are just going to line up to buy houses from him. And I can tell you, in a lot of cases, being overly attractive can be counterproductive, and because it draws the wrong people for the wrong reasons to that person's environment instead of being there for houses. So I say to you that the way somebody looks, I don't care how tall you are, I don't care how short you are, I don't care how wide you are. I've had people tell me he's too old to be successful in real estate, or he doesn't have enough life experience to be successful in real estate. And age is not a factor. And I've met really smart people who are committed to doing a great job, and they are successful. I've had people say to me, he's too old, he won't be able to keep up with the technology, or he's too young, he doesn't have enough life experience. In either case, those are wrong. A young person can bring a great experience to a real estate transaction, and a very experienced person, in terms of their age, have a lot of wisdom to bring. I've had people say to me, he's going to be successful because he's got a master's degree in business, or he's got an MBA, or he's got a master's in something. And I can tell you the world is full of educated derelicts. The level of education you have, if you use it wisely, can be helpful, but it is not a factor that determines someone's success in real estate. I've seen people say to me, I hired him because he's got the gift of gab. He can talk to everybody. That guy's going to make a ton of money. Listen, talking without an objective is nothing more than chatter. And I've seen all kinds of people who talk a lot and don't say anything of any substance. In fact, sometimes the very best salespeople are the ones that say less, listen more, than the ones who talk a lot. How often have I seen somebody say to me, he's going to be successful because his family has the greatest social connections in town. And I've had people like that in my office. They're connected to everybody, but they're as lazy as a pet raccoon. I'll tell you what works in real estate. You know what works in real estate? Work works in real estate. And I'm going to tell you about that more in a minute. But 70% of the people who enter the industry fail. They fail because they don't understand what's in front of them. This is a performance-based business. If you don't sell something, you don't. If you don't sell something, you don't eat. And that's enough to paralyze 70% of the people who come into the business. I can tell you now that there are a lot of people who don't realize that they have to, showing up is not working in real estate. And I see that all the time from people. They think just showing up is working. Let me tell you what the attributes, knowing what I know now, that I would look for in terms of a successful agent. What I would look for is somebody who's has this combination. First of all, if you want to be successful, you got to be a hard worker. And I'm going to tell you what hard work looks like in real estate in a few more minutes. But you got to be willing to work hard. And if you're asking me, that means you rise with the rooster, that you're up early. Sorry about that. My computer's making some funny noises. You get up early. You have the ability to take direction. I meet people who get into real estate all the time. They pass the real estate course and they think they know it all. And I think to myself, how arrogant. All you have is a ticket into the game. Nobody said we were going to take you off the bench at this point. And then the humility to ask for help. I find that often people won't ask for help, and they want everybody else. They pretend like they know what they're doing. And as the year ticks on, they don't come even close to what their objectives were. So you got to be willing to work hard. You got to listen to people who have done this for a lot of years and know what the answers are to your questions. You got to be humble, and you got to be able to ask people for help. And you got to say to people, and you got to be vulnerable. You got to say to people in your office, I don't know how to do this. Can you give me some suggestions? Have you ever done this before? And what did you find worked for you? And you've got to be incredibly hungry. So willingness to work hard, the ability to follow direction, the humility to ask for help, and you have to be incredibly hungry, meaning that you are driving towards a specific outcome. Now, let me give you a little analogy when it comes to the boys of summer in terms of baseball. Most agents don't understand the real estate game. You only score in real estate when you get a signature. A signature in real estate is the equivalent of a baseball player passing across home plate. So some people think going to the office is working. Oh, I was working today. You were? Oh, yeah. I went to the office. That's like going to first base. You don't change the scoreboard if you strand the runner on first base. Some people would say to me, I worked hard today. I say, well, what did you do? They say, well, I went to the office. I made calls. That's like if you don't get a signature, that's like stranding your runner on second base. Then I have people say to me, oh, I worked really hard this week. I went into the office, I made calls, and I booked appointments. And I say, great. Did you get a signature? And they say, no. I went on appointments, but nothing converted. That's like stranding your runner on third base. Let me tell you what work looks like in real estate so that you don't lose sight of what you have to do. You have to go to the office. You got to make your prospecting calls. You got to book your appointments. You got to convert those appointments to signatures when people are committed to working with you. Now you've got a home run. Now you've changed the score on the score clock. So don't lose sight of that. Do I think that going to the office and working on your CRM is important? Yes, I do. I think it's really important. Staying in touch with past clients, really important. Using technology to do that, really important. But I'm going to tell you something. Your CRM system doesn't have any value unless you sell a house this week or you get a listing. Oh, I'm working on my social media. Is social media important? Yeah, it's important. Sure it is. It's really important to have a strong social media strategy. But social media only has a value if you get a signature. If you don't have any signatures this week, messing around on Facebook and YouTube and all of that other technology doesn't have any value. Working with your graphic designer, is it important? Am I putting my newsletter together? Yeah, it's important. Sending out my campaigns, my postcards and all of that, it's all important. But it's only important if you've got clients who've signed and entered into a committed relationship with you. So understand in the priority of things, in your world, what you need to do is you need to get a signature every week, either on an offer, an agreement of purchase and sale, or on a listing. And if you haven't got your listing signed and you haven't got your offer signed, I wouldn't be working on my B priorities, my social media, and I wouldn't be working on my graphic design work or my blog until I did that first. You know, most people get confused and they think going into the office and working on my blog is working. It's a B priority. It's not an A priority. Now, if you were tracking everything, you would know full well what needs to be done and you would be reminded regularly. But what happens is the important items get pushed to the side, and we get caught in that tornado that takes place daily and weekly in our businesses. And at the end of the week, we're not where we want to be. And then 2 weeks go by and 3 weeks go by and we're not paying attention. That's why the data is important. If you only get paid for what works, then you need to track what works and focus your efforts on what works. Because at the end of the day, if signatures are what you need, but your time is getting eaten up in the B priorities, then you've misunderstood what real estate sales is all about. If you don't keep score, how would you know? If you don't know how much you're supposed to make at the end of the year, how many appointments would you need to go on? How many of those appointments would you have to convert? How many listing calls would you have to make? How many conversations would you have to have on a daily basis? How many FSBOs would you have to talk to? How many doors would you have to knock on? If you don't know your data, you don't know what you're doing. It's like wandering around in the wilderness without a compass, with a blindfold on. You're definitely going to be lost. And at the end of the year, you're going to be one of those people that fall into the 70% that aren't making enough money to substantiate why they're in real estate. Customize your plan. One of the things we've been working on is we've been developing strategies that work uniquely with each individual. What we find often is you go to another company out there that does, say, hypothetically does coaching, and they want to sell you a one-size-fits-all strategy. And that I don't believe works. What I do believe is that you have certain strengths and you have weaknesses. And your strengths and weaknesses are different than other people in the marketplace. You need to identify what your strengths are and what's really working. And you would know that if you were tracking where you got your business from. If you looked at the last 12 months and you looked at where did all my deals come from? Did I get them from for sale by owners, door knocking, cold calling? Did I do them from open houses? Did I get it, from a social media strategy? Was I using online lead gen to a low, using Facebook ads and Google ads to a low branded site, and then using a call capture form and acting on that quickly? What was I doing that created this business? And once you understand that, we play to your strengths, we shore up your weaknesses, and we move you substantially forward so that you are on track to achieve your goals and enjoy the rewards that you've got in mind. Everyone's different, and what works for you doesn't work for everyone. Success is not a one-size-fits-all. Where did you get your business from? And you should be thoughtful about that. You should also be looking at how do you compare against the producers in the industry. You need to take a look at the top 20% of the people in your office, and you need to be a student of experience. There's no secrets, there's no magic, and I can tell you the top producer in your office is not any better and isn't any more special than you are. Top producers put their pants on one leg at a time. Special people were not born that way. It's what they do, not who they are. Everybody on this call with me today can be a giant, huge producer and can enjoy the success that they've been pining for. If you only knew what to do and you stayed focused doing it every day. Think about what the next 6 months could look like if you knew exactly what it is you needed to do every day to achieve that objective. What others are doing, you want to investigate other people. You want to take a look at, and you want to ask the people in your office that are closing deals, and you want to say to them, where'd you get that client from? Or how did you, I'm always interested. How did you get that client? How did you resurrect that relationship? Where did you get that relationship from? Where did it come from? How did you do this? And success leaves clues, and successful people leave breadcrumbs. All you got to do is follow the breadcrumbs, and you're going to cross the finish line right along with them. They're going to show you if you watch. So be a student, be humble, be open-minded, ask lots of questions, and be thoughtful about what you're doing. Now, I want to talk to you about why you got into real estate. Some people on this call got into real estate because they like houses. And let me be honest with you, I think that's very weak. Some people got into real estate because they like people. They think they're a people person. You spend any time in real estate, you're not going to like people very much. I'm just kidding. Why did you get into real estate? You got into real estate to make money, cash. So let me tell you how you make money in real estate. Prospects buy confidence. The C in cash stands for confidence. Knowledge builds confidence, and it separates you from the average agent. You got to know when you're going in on a listing appointment, a seller is going to want to probably interview a couple of other agents before they make a decision. Deciding factors. is going to be, do you appear confident when you're talking to them? That confidence comes from understanding the market thoroughly. And it also comes from understanding the products and services Royal LePage has available, so you can communicate those services in a way that the seller sees benefit in doing business with you. All in all, knowledge creates security. And when you have security, you communicate differently. Learn your business, know it thoroughly. Attitude is the next thing in cash. Your ability to connect with prospects affects your conversion rate. You don't have to be the smartest person in the world. IQ is not what we're looking for here. What we're looking for in management is EQ. Without EQ, prospects won't like you, and if they don't like you, they won't do business with you. It's how do you connect with people? Are you optimistic? Are you enthusiastic? Are you excited for your clients? Are you excited about the move? Are you looking forward to helping them? Do you see this as tedious work, or you see it as a fabulous experience? For me, selling houses was I always enjoyed it. And I always thought how fortunate I was to share in this small piece of somebody's life when they turn the page and an exciting new chapter begins for them. For me, I always thought I was honored to have this opportunity. If you don't feel that way about real estate is probably not the right business for you. You need to be excited for your clients. That confidence and that attitude is a winning combination. The S, it stands for skills. You need to be a student for the rest of your life. And it's got nothing to do with age. You can stay relevant, and education needs to be a lifelong commitment. Knowledge is power. When you have knowledge and you're communicating with a seller, that power converts to confidence. And what does the seller want from you? They need to have a feeling, and it's a feeling that you can deliver, that you have the substance, that you have the background, you have the information, you have all of the data, you have all of the information so that they can have confidence. And I'll tell you what confidence is. In sales, it's intoxicating. Please do yourself a favor. Never stop reading. You need to read a sales book every month. You need to do something that's trendy one month and traditional the next. Visit the masters and take a look at who's disrupting the industry and learn, continue to gather. And if you can't find the time to read, then get your books on audio. And turn your driving time in real estate while you're stuck in traffic into learning time. And you need to listen to these books over and over again. Never stop reading. And finally, the H is for habits. I want you to build good habits. You need to identify patterns that are successful. You need to take those patterns and apply them to a routine on a regular basis. Routines create predictability. Structure in your schedule creates freedom, and you're going to find time and you're not going to waste it. And schedules constantly keep us on track and prioritize the activities. So habits, when you look at cash, confidence, attitude, skills, and habits. You need to be thoughtful about those 4 things. And if you are, then you're on your way to achieving your goal. Being your best in terms of success. Managing that data, looking after the numbers, knowing your conversions, knowing your conversations. Track your activities. A good habit is tracking your activities every day. Hey, I'm going to get on that weight loss app, but I'm only going to look at it once a month. Trust me, that is not going to work. Hey, I'm going to get on that weight loss app, but I'm only going to track it once a week. Trust me, you're not going to remember what you ate Monday morning a week from now. You need to track what you do daily. Most agents don't. Those who do analyze the data. They look at what they did the day before, what they want to do tomorrow, and they make small adjustments along the way. How can you use the data on a daily basis to improve your business tomorrow? What could you do differently tomorrow than you didn't do today? Now, take a look at where you wanted to be at the end of the year. This is our goal. What I want you to do with your goal is I want you to go backwards from the goal. And I want you to take a look at how much income would it take for me to achieve my goal? What does that dollar amount look like? Now, your income should be made up of 2 areas, your business expenses and your personal expenses, to give you that number. Now we have the goal. Once we know what our income is, how many contracts based on your average commission per unit will you need to make that income? So how many deals do you need to do? And then from our contracts, what we want to do is we need to figure out how many appointments do we need to go on to get a contract? How many contracts do we need to hit our income goal and our goal for the year? And finally, how are we going to prospect to create the appointments? Are you going to knock on doors? Are you going to work a farm? Are you going to be the open house king? Are you going to do FSBOs? Are you going to work social events in your community? Once you understand what this looks like, start backwards and move forwards to what needs to be done every day. Now, if we take that and we reverse the order, once you know what you need to do every day, you focus on that and we track forward. Every day, focus on the activities. How many conversations? How many appointments do I need this week? And you focus on that, and that's going to take you to your appointments. How are you going to get those appointments? We're breaking this down very simply. Getting up tomorrow, how many calls, how many people do I have to talk to? What am I going to do it? But how many appointments do I need to get by the end of this week to make sure I'm on track for the contracts I need? Once I know how many contracts, that's going to tell me how much income. And we're going to be, you should be monitoring all of these things. And that finally brings us to our goal. So start backwards and move forwards. And once you know what that is, start tomorrow and move forwards to the goal for the balance of the year. Now, what we need to do is we need to take a look at that data and we need to improve your performance. If you're prospecting, but you're not booking appointments, you're calling FSBOs and you're not getting in the door, there's something wrong with your dialogue and your approach. So you need to do an autopsy on what you're doing to increase your conversions. If you're getting appointments, but you're not getting listings signed, you're booking appointments, but you're not getting listings signed, you're not booking, sorry, if you're booking appointments, but you're not getting your listings signed, you're not focusing. You need to focus. So focus on your prospecting scripts to get those appointments. If you book appointments, but you're not getting listings, then you need to focus on your presentation skills. So what I would say to you is if you don't have a dynamic digital listing presentation, visit our website. We've got a great presentation there, totally customizable, 54 slides in the deck. Go have a look at it. You won't find a better one in the real estate marketplace. Now, if you're booking your appointments and you're going on appointments, but you're not getting the listings, we got to focus on what you're doing on that presentation. And then from there, if you're getting the listings, but they're not selling, what we need to do is focus on pricing and marketing strategies. Now, pricing isn't doing a CMA. I know that many of you think, well, I've done my CMA on my listing appointment, I've done my job. No, you know what? They taught you how to do CMAs in school. And the CMA is the information, but the salesperson, it's the communication. It's how you communicate that situation to the seller's satisfaction. It's taking that seller who hoped that their home was worth more and learn how to communicate without disappointing them and persuading them to put it on the market at the right price. So that's where the meat and potatoes is in pricing. So let me back up. If you're not getting any appointments, you're not getting any listings. So we got to focus on getting appointments. If you're making calls and you're really going in and you're working FSBOs, door knocking, whatever it is you're doing, and it's not working, then there's something wrong with your approach. If you're getting to the kitchen table and you're on the appointment, but you're not converting, your presentation isn't any good. You need to work on that. If you're getting the listings, but they're not selling, your pricing and your marketing is off, and we need to take a look at those. Those are all of, when you're identifying the strategies. Tracking your performance, making small improvements every day, you're going to see big results. But if you're looking for a giant leap forward, that's not how this works. Top producers win by measuring the inches on a daily basis. It's not the yards or the miles that they put on, because they will do that, but they do it over a period of time. What they're looking at is each and everything. If it takes you 4 appointments, for instance, to get one good listing, your goal going forward should be to qualify those appointments better so that you're going on better quality appointments and you are actually converting on 3 instead of 4. If 3 is the number you've been doing, then we should be trying to get you down to 2. Think about it this way. If you started out going on 4 appointments, you're not qualifying hard, and you're going on appointments that aren't actually really great appointments, but you're going out. It's a start. But then what we want you to do is you get busy. We want you to get stronger at asking the tough questions. so that the appointments that you are going on are going to be better quality appointments and your conversion rates go up. So as we work through this, what we're going to do is the better you get at what you do, the more time you're going to find on your calendar. But you'll never know any of this if you're not keeping score. If you don't keep the numbers, you don't keep the data. Now, I wanted to tell you about what we've been working on. And I've got a couple minutes and then we'll go into questions with Mike. But we've developed an exceptional group consulting program. And it does just what we're talking about. Every week, I do a 15-minute live webcast. And it really what this is, it's like you and I having a cup of coffee every week. It's like your opportunity to sit down with a 35, 37-year veteran in the business who's going to share some insider information, the tips and tricks that the experienced agents know for a productive week. Each week, I'm going to give you a really good idea that you're going to take away, put in your pocket, and you know you're going to use to convert more opportunities, to increase the size of your income by the end of the year. So it's a great blast of really current content. Added to that, you have free email access with me throughout the week. So if you're working on something and you need a question answered or you got a complicated situation coming up, if you'll take the time to send us an email, we'll send you back a thoughtful response that you'll be able to use as a strategy to apply to that situation. Maybe it's commissions, maybe it's pricing, maybe you know you're going over to see somebody who's going to sell their house, but they're going to be flirting with the idea of selling it privately right now. Whatever it is, you shoot me that email, we'll get you back a solution to it right away and throughout the week that you're going to be able to use. Added to all of that, we also have the Leaders Edge virtual training platform. It's over 16 hours of me on video that can be delivered wherever there's an internet connection. And it answers all of your questions in terms of the things you run into in real estate. It's like having me right alongside you every week. You can watch it all at once, or you can break it up into sessions. What's really good about it is that if you're looking for an answer to a commission issue and you want to watch me role play something live on video, you can see it. Or you've got a pricing issue, and there's a lot of really great content. 16 hours of video training is included in this, and it's available to you on demand. But the real piece de la resistance on this is we've also included the Leaders Edge business plan. You're getting coffee with Chris. Not only are you getting the video training, but we're also including the business plan. And what this does for you, it allows you to plan out your expenses and your revenue requirements, come up with all of your numbers. Very sophisticated, nothing like this out there. Very sophisticated plan. Once you know what those numbers are, you're going to take those numbers and then you're going to put them into our newest success app that's going to be on your phone. It's like a weight loss app for real estate agents. And when you put all of the pieces together, coffee with Chris, emails, you got the virtual training, you got the business plan, and you got the agent success app. And we do all of that for $145 a month. Now, the way the app works is you take the numbers from the business plan, you put it in, and it's going to tell you what you have to do every day. And you're going to know if you're behind or ahead of schedule. It's going to allow you the opportunity to make the adjustments you want to. But what I've come to realize in a nutshell is this: successful agents keep score. They know their numbers. They know what they need to do. They know when they're off track. And they don't get off track for long because they're constantly monitoring what they're doing, which allows them to get right back into this thing as quickly as possible and get back to the heart of the matter and make sure that they're on track to book those listing appointments and to put those signs up with their names on it. So all of that is all included. How do you get this? Well, Leaders Edge Consulting, www.leadersedgetraining.com, our /consulting services. And all we're going to ask, you don't even have to pay for it. What you might want to do is book that free consultation with Melanie at our office. She'll schedule some time on the just to make sure you understand completely all of the pieces you're getting. We're live every Monday, so from your perspective, I would make a point of getting on right now. Now, this brings us up to any questions, and I want to bring Mike back into the conversation.
Yeah, I'm still here. Thanks so much, Chris. I want to answer the questions first because I think I don't have too many. I actually have a couple myself.
Okay.
But I've encouraged people to say, hey, if they have questions, feel free to write in the chat. I will say, I mean, we have our next webinars coming up. we do webinars every single week here in Learning Services. We got some good ones coming up in September. We're kind of focused on luxury. So in September, the first webinar we're doing is kind of on the Carriage Trade Luxury Marketing Program. So talking about what exactly our Carriage Trade Luxury Program has to offer, its history, the marketing involved with it. And then later in the month, that's on September 6th. Later in the month, on September 21st, we're going to have the Institute for Luxury Home Marketing come in and do their sales success webinar. Now, we haven't talked about exactly what, we haven't nailed it down yet. We've had a couple ideas floating here and there, but the next month for us in terms of our webinar is really going to focus on luxury. So I do hope people who have tuned in here will sign up for that. Now, the question I wanted to ask you is, you mentioned reading and rereading books and always staying on top of it. So I wanted to ask you if you had a recommendation for the people who have joined us today. What is a book that you would suggest that maybe you've reread countless times and you've always gotten value out of it? And then one of the books that you've found you've read recently that you say, hey, that was a really great new one that might make that list.
So the book I think everybody needs to have on their bookshelf as a traditional book is Think and Grow Rich with Napoleon Hill. Now, there's some information that's dated, and I understand that. But I think Think and Grow Rich with Napoleon Hill. The book I'm reading presently right now is Stephen Covey's book. Actually, it's Stephen Covey's son's book, actually. And it's the 4 disciplines of successful people. I think it is the 4 disciplines of successful people, and that's what I'm reading right now. So like I said, I'm reading books every month. I've got a library of stuff, and I collect everything because I go back and I use them as references. Anything from Anthony Robbins as being good. Awakening the Giant is one that should be on the shelf. Anything from Swanpool in terms of his Tech 3 stuff was the last book I read through in terms of technology. There's something else I would recommend. I read the New York Times every morning. I read the financial section of the New York Times and the technology section, and I read every morning the National Post from the Canadian newspaper. And I read those 2 papers every morning at 5:30 from cover to cover. I need to know what current events are. I need to know the financial section. I need to know what influences globally are going to affect the real estate market. And I want to know what technologies are new that are being used in other businesses that I could maybe repurpose in real estate for success. So those are sort of some of my daily attributes.
Very cool.
Or activities. Yeah, activities. Yeah.
I know one of the things we referenced one of our workshops previously was on the fact that a lot of company leaders, CEOs, they read more than anybody else out there, and that's a big contributor to their success.
Yep.
I forgot also to mention royallepage.ca/training. We're launching our new workshop. In fact, people are going to get a communication tomorrow about our latest workshop, all about staying in touch and connecting with your network. So just watch for that. You can find details on royallepage.ca/training as well.
All right. So what do we got for questions, Mike?
So one of the other questions, and I'll say it's a little bit of an odd one, but you had talked about the digital listing presentation that you had on the site. And so I put up a link and said, hey, by the way, there is a cost to this. And I think some people got a little bit of sticker shock because they were like, whoa, $249.99. And so I just wanted to,
can I answer that for them? Really simple.
Well, that's what I thought. I thought, you know what? Like let's ignore that. Let's look at the value here, right?
Well, what I was going to say very simply is you can rebuild a PowerPoint yourself. What's your time worth? You had to build 54 slides in a deck and put the graphics together and make it really, really well done. You're going to spend a couple of weeks on that at the very least, and still not even have the program you're looking for. So again, what I do isn't for everybody, and that's for sure. I am by no means cheap, and if you're looking for cheap, I'm not your guy. I'm sort of the Ritz-Carlton of real estate trainers. You want to know how to, if you're looking for if you're looking for cheap, I don't even think Royal LePage is for you. Royal LePage is a quality company who builds on services. I'm not a discount guy, and I don't believe in discount. And if you think $250 is a lot of money, then I would
something that you'll be doing is a core part of your business. But
yeah. I mean, you got to go on a listing you should be going on a listing presentation, 2 or 3 of them every week, and you got to have the right tools to do the job. And if you don't, then you're really at a disadvantage because somebody with my presentation is coming up against you. And you're going to find yourself in a position where You wished you had a better way of articulating your unique value proposition.
Thank you. And that's what I was like. Let's not look at the sticker shock side. I was looking at the 4 disciplines of successful people. Somebody was just asking, do you know the name of the you said it was Stephen Covey's son? There's Sean, Joshua, David, and Stephen M.R. Covey. Do you have any idea? So I was trying to find it.
Yeah, let me just you give me the next question. We're going to look that up for you real fast while we're done. Yeah.
The next question is just simply about how to be successful in farming. That's from Amir Zarabi. Let's see if I can find
how to be successful in farming. Okay, Maria, here's my suggestions, and it's very quick, but this is a topic that we could spend comfortably 2-3 hours on. Pick a good farm area. For me, a good farm area based on your MLS data is about 500 homes would be the right number to start. In fact, a little bit less might even be a little easier in terms of maintaining consistency. You want a farm area that turns over very frequently, and the turn rate I'm looking for is about 8%. So if we had 500 homes with a turn rate annually of 8%, we'd be looking at 40 transactions. If you farmed it well and you owned it, if you got 1 out of 2 opportunities there, you'd be looking at 20 transactions. Then what you want to do is take a look at those 20 transactions and figure out what the average revenue in terms of commission per transaction is. And then you want to allocate about 10% of that 10% of that revenue to farm the area. So there's a math formula to this, so that you have a budget in terms of what you need to have available in terms of the return that you're going to get back. So that would be, there's a whole lot of other factors that come into that, but 500 homes, 8% turn rate. I would prefer a neighborhood of tract housing, stuff that sells and turns pretty frequently. And to actually answer your previous question, the book I'm reading right now is The 4 Disciplines of Execution by Sean Covey.
Gotcha. Yeah, I was trying to find the 4 Disciplines of Execution. There you go.
It's an excellent book. It's a good book. Okay. So what else we got?
Let's see. Just a lot of conversation around the book. Let's see here. Nope, didn't like that. Let's have a look here and see. I'm not seeing too many for the. You know how it always is with your webinars, Chris. I find people get real quiet because I find they're often writing notes. Yeah. I know I have quite a few myself. So, and I encourage all the people on the webinar to a reminder that these webinars, the benefit, one of the reasons that I leverage YouTube Live is because they're recorded, they're PVR'd essentially as they happen. So if you want to go back right now and go check out a section, I know I had to go back for the start backwards, track forward slide and kind of take those notes down. You can always do that, which is one of the benefits of these.
Can I I'll just chime in. What I'm trying to tell these guys on the line is that you need to know your numbers, and every world-class athlete is timed and tested and checked, and the coach is looking at each and every stride and each and every step to make sure that they're getting the most out of everything they do. And that's what we've come to realize is when we look at our top producers, they're keeping records. And what they're looking at is conversion rates. They're looking at, how many conversations to convert, how many appointments to convert, how many listings to convert. And they're tracking those numbers. And then they're looking at the activities that generated the opportunities, and they're putting more focus on the stuff that's working, and they're eliminating the stuff that doesn't. So as time goes on, they've really purified the system by coming up with something that's really, really works. And that's the importance of the app and the business plan. When you tie those two things together and you're being held accountable every day to the numbers that you set as your objective, and you understand what that looks like, then all of a sudden we've peeled the curtain back and you have absolute clarity of what needs to happen. And then you own it. You get up every day and you say, and I want everybody to know, we're not all going to get up every day and do what we're supposed to do. So that's part of it as well. But realizing very quickly, yesterday I didn't do what I said I was supposed to. Today I got to really get at it. that's the constant reminder that, and that's how we do those small changes, small increments, and keep moving people to the right direction.
Hmm.
I'd take a look at that. You know, all of those pieces together, the video training, the business plan, the ongoing app, the weekly coffee with me. I think it's a great package. And we've sort of really stacked the cool on that.
Well, and I'll say, I know I don't want to, but I always find like your answers are always something that people really, really value. So, let me ask a question here for Eduardo Andrade, who, by the way, has a lovely little girl. Seen a lot of pictures of her on Facebook lately, but and maybe that's why he's needing something to keep him awake in these times of little sleep. But he's asking about how can I get more listings if I work 95% by referral? And I think that's an interesting question around obviously it's
Can I answer
tracking.
that? Can I
Yeah.
answer that? Yeah. You know, I don't, and I don't want to come across as brassy, but I remember years ago there was a trainer around doing teaching that had people put stickers on their card that said by referral only. And I'll tell
Mm.
you right now, as a salesperson, me being a salesperson, I wouldn't work 95% by referral. I think referrals are fabulous. I want to work my sphere of influence. I want to work my past clients. I'm going to continue to work those because I can leverage those relationships to more opportunities. But I'm also going to work for sale by owners. I'm going to have a farm area. I'm going to use technology using Facebook ads and Google ads. I'm going to use low branded sites to drive that traffic into call capture forms. I'm going to set up, a social media strategy to attract business. What I'm trying to say is that at the end of the year, there's a whole bunch of different things that you need to investigate and you need to constantly measure. I had a fairly good Royal LePage agent call me, and he's been done my course a number of times. And he called me and he said, my business is off this year. He said, can we have a discussion? And I said, of course, what's going on? So we started talking, and he's got a coach. I think the coach has given him a lot of bad information. I said to him, what about your farm area? He said, well, I gave up on my farm. I said, what'd you give up on your farm for? He said, well, the coach told me I should, refocus my efforts and my finances. I said, okay, well, you got 17 years of past clients. I said, how often are you reaching out and having conversations and sending them stuff? He said, well, I haven't been. I said, what about FSBOs? He said, I haven't been. I said, door knocking. He said, I haven't been. I said, well, it's no wonder you got no business. You're not doing all the stuff you should be doing. I said, there's no magic to this. His name's Steve. I said, Steve, there's no magic to this, buddy. You know how you got to be successful in the business. Why did you stop doing the stuff you knew that worked? And he said, well, I thought I could, and I'm like, no, you know what? You need to still, you get a new listing. You get a new listing, and you got to go up and down the street and talk to everybody. You got to do your just listed cards. You send out 300 of them. You take a great photo of the exterior of the house. You export it to the front of the postcard. You send it out. Then you go door to door, or you call everybody, depending on the do not call, complexities. And you say, hey, my name's Chris. I work with Royal LePage. I just listed the property up the street from you. The reason I'm calling is I want to know, first of all, if you guys thought about selling. They say no. And then you say, well, do you know of anybody else that would like to live in the neighborhood? Because it's a great property. And next thing you know, the person's going to say, well, I'm surprised you called. We've been kind of thinking about it, but we thought we'd wait till next year. And then you're going to use your dialogue and your script training and your talk tracks. And you're going to say, well, what if you knew by waiting till next year, you'd end up losing a small fortune? Would you want to wait, or would you want to do it now? Person says, well, how am I going to lose money? And I said, well, I don't know. I haven't seen your house yet. Houses are like people. It's what's inside that counts. I need to come over and we need to have a discussion about what's going on. And while I'm over there, but I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll show you all the things we do to help people just like yourself make a seamless move with no stress, no fuss. Well, let me come by. We'll have a conversation. No obligation. We'll share some coffee. We'll talk a little bit and see where it goes. So for the fellow that asked, I just gave him, a great dialogue. And I said to him, basically, I'll go back to what works. Referrals are great, and I love them. Nothing better than going in pre-sold by somebody who's used your services and has recommended you. I get that, and I think that's fabulous. But for me, my appetite way exceeds the referral work that I get. Now, most of my business comes from referrals, but I got to tell you, as a sales trainer, I am still prospecting the decision makers every day that have the ability to expand my book substantially. And that means calling people. I call people. People don't, you know, business doesn't fall in my lap. I identify the strongest decision makers around the continent who have the biggest footprint in real estate, and I hunt those people. So I would say to your fellow on the phone, you need to hunt. You need to be a hunter.
Yeah, and ultimately, if he's working 95% by referral, you got a great service that people love. So
Yeah.
extend that offer out to everybody else.
And I would think if he's doing that, he's probably doing, you know, client appreciation parties and sphere of influence, and he's doing, you know, his drop-ins where he drops his stuff by and stuff like that.
He's just got to extend it out to some people he doesn't know.
Yeah, and give me more questions.
I have one that I think is actually from, well, she's just asking about the Leader's Edge program, and if you have a Train the Trainer program. Now, it's coming from Jennifer Lucas, who's one of the associates with Royal LePage Noralta in Fort Saskatchewan.
Oh my goodness. My family's from Saskatchewan. How wonderful. My family's from
Fort Saskatchewan, yeah. Alberta. Heads up on that
sorry,
one.
I thought you... Okay, thank you. Okay, sorry about that, Alberta. My family's from Saskatchewan. Do I have a Train the Trainer? You know, one of the things we do at Royal LePage is every year we have management training. So if that's in your wheelhouse and that's something you want to do, we have that. If you want to be the trainer in office, we have a virtual training platform designed for managers to deliver a training experience, very, very cost effective. Call our office, and we'll get you an overview on that. And the Leader's Edge program is I teach it once a year in Canada, and I do it in Mississauga, and it's going to be October 6th this year in Mississauga. We always sell out, and Royal LePage is the biggest supporter of that program. They take up the lion's share of the room. So now that's not going to help Fort Saskatchewan in Alberta unless you want to get on a plane every week and come and see me. But if we could get enough people out that way, I could probably send somebody who works for me out to Saskatchewan to see these guys.
And also, you know, I've seen a lot of the Leader's Edge training package, and that's how it's set up. It's set up to be something that can be done in the office. And Jennifer, if you want to get in touch with Chris's team, or you can even get in touch with us too, but I'd say go to Chris first. And you know, I think you'll be well served. She says
Jennifer's
thanks.
Probably looking for a 1-800 number. She can call in at 1-866. 1-866-607-8777. So 1-866-607-8777. She can call in and we'll walk her through it. It's very inexpensive. It's not a lot of money for the office.
And there's a free trial too, so she can experience a little bit of it and see. Yeah, it's worth the call, that's for sure. I wanted to see Harnoor Singh. I'm not too sure where he's from, but he's just asking, going back to that farming question. But and I think this is a real quick answer for you too. But if there's one or two dominant agents already in that farm area,
you know what? I wouldn't let that be a deterrent, because wherever you find a McDonald's, you find a Burger King.
Yep.
And why I say that is top agents often leave a lot of business. Top agents leave a lot of business on the table, and and there are people like choices. You know, somebody doesn't always want the big producer. Some people want to be able to connect with somebody who they feel that a real emotional connection with, and they really get a sense they can trust them, and they like the unique, and they like the quality service, and they like the quality connection that's taking place. A lot of attention to detail. They love that. So don't be afraid of the big producers. I would build your business around a quality experience for each and every client. Pick an area that you like to work, and become, instead of one of the two, one of the three people that they're entertaining. And you know what? I think it would be fabulous to run a race against some big producers, because it's going to get you to measure up again and level up against some of the people.
Yeah, it'll get you going, that's for sure. So
I gave you the wrong number. I should do that one more time. I apologize. Our toll-free number here is 866-607-7999. I apologize. I got some of those digits wrong. 607-7999.
Jennifer an email too.
I never call myself, so I apologize.
That's the catch.
Okay.
But all right, I mean, we are over 3 o'clock. I think the questions have slowed down quite a bit. We've got a couple people that said thanks, and Eduardo just wanted to let you know that he does client appreciations every year. Good. And just a lot of thanks. for
I
taking
just add
time.
one more thing, Mike. I'm going to tell you that if I come across as intense, it's because I care. And I have a huge commitment to the people, everybody's success in the business. So I'm trying my very hardest to impress upon people the best strategies that are going to have a successful effect on their business.
And I think as we all know also, when the market gets really crazy like it's been in the past couple of years, it hides a lot of the bad habits. I've heard many real estate coaches who say that.
Yeah.
And now's the time with everything that people are. You mentioned a little bit that uncertainty, right? And so you got to hone your skills, and I think that's what you care about. And that's, like I said, I know people get quiet because they take a lot of notes. So,
Thank you very, very much. I hope you guys got some really great ideas out of this. And like I said, data collection is important in terms of making adjustments. Thank you, Mike.
I know I did. Thank you so much, Chris. Thanks everybody for tuning in, and we hope you'll tune in next month where we're focusing on luxury. And see you soon.